All right, I'm Kyle Meredith, and this amazing artist right here, Rhiannon Giddens, is joining me this week. Welcome.
Thank you.
You've got a great record.
Thank you.
Your first solo record.
Yes.
It's been built up to a lot.
Yes.
I think we all saw it coming, though.
Oh, yeah?
It feels like that. There's conversations that we would have, the Chocolate Drops would be going out, and you're like, love the Chocolate Drops, fan of the Chocolate Drops. Wonder when she's going to do a solo record.
Yeah.
Like, was it always coming for you? Did you see that in the distance that you were going to be doing this sooner or later?
Sure. I mean, I started off as a vocalist.
Mm-hmm.
I went to school for vocals. I've always been a singer. My instruments came later in my life. So I always knew that someday I wanted to do a vocal record, but I was so focused on the Chocolate Drops, and I didn't really want to pull focus from the Chocolate Drops, So we always kept my singing to a piece of it,
right?
So it didn't become like me and the backup drops, which ironically is kind of what it is now. But my name is in the front now. That's the difference. I didn't want, when it's the Carolina Chocolate Drops, it's a band.
Right.
And it needs to stay that way because that's the point of it, is that it's an ensemble. So I always knew one day, but I was so focused on CCD that, I didn't know, it was basically going to take T-Bone Burnett kind of giving me this shove,
right,
to do this, so.
Thank God for T-Bone Burnett.
Yeah.
You mentioned being a vocalist. That's something I've been curious about because I won't say it's two completely different type of things, but separating them for the purpose of this, you have a person who's a singer-songwriter per se, and then you have an interpreter.
Yeah.
And I guess I think you, at least on this record, while you do write, there's one original on
one
here.
Original.
Yeah, and I know you write other times, but it's you interpreting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what becomes the focus at that point? Is it just giving a good performance? Is it trying to make it your own and unique? I mean, what is it for you that you need to stamp on this and focus on when you're doing someone else's songs?
I do, I think coming to this as an opera singer, an ex-opera singer, and as a traditional, ballad singer, it's really always about the song, because I think that's the way it always has to be. Once you start, there's this idea in theater of playing the punchline. When you're doing a funny scene, you do the line, you wait for the beat, the audience laughs, but you have to play the line. You can't play it to get the laugh.
Right.
You have to be in the line, and if you do it right, they'll laugh. Right. So there's that faith in your interpretation of the line, and I think that's the way it is in music. It's like, you have to play the song. You have to inhabit the song. For me, it's always about what is the story? What am I trying to communicate? Am I doing that? That's the point. And then I want to make it my own, sure. But if I play the story right, and I'm around the right musicians and I'm with the right producer, then I don't have to worry about that stuff. It's gonna happen the way it needs to. But I want to make sure I'm communicating with, you, the listener, whoever is on the other side.
Me personally, I will take
you personally.
that,
I
yes.
sing everything to you.
Well, my dreams are done. I'm good. Thank you. Good night.
But I really for me, it's not about me.
Right.
It's about the song. Always.
I love that parallel, just with the comedian and everything. I say this, and you've done this great record. Tomorrow is my turn, and that line, tomorrow is my turn. Give it to me. I'm going to ask the question. What's the meaning right there?
Well, we decided to name the record after that song, mostly because it's kind of the emotional linchpin of the record. There was this YouTube video of Nina Simone doing it that I was watching obsessively over and over again. And just that whole idea of where she was and what she was able to do, what she wasn't able to do, thinking about, sort of dreams deferred for a lot of people. And so we knew very well when we named the record after that song that was going to be a question, is this about you and
right.
Tomorrow's your turn? And I was I hated that because it's not, this really isn't. I'm just so not into that stuff, I'm not into, if I could take myself out of everything, I was do I really...
that stance. Tomorrow is...
Yeah, I was do we really have to put my picture on the record?
Right.
I seriously fought that, It's just I hate sort of being in it.
Yeah.
And, it's when it's really about the music. But it was it was a strong enough connection to me to weather that.
And on the subject of Nina, isn't it great that she's getting another heyday, another day in the sun? The documentary spurred so much conversation that it looks like that movie's being pushed through that's been sitting out there for 5 years. Although I'm thinking maybe you don't want that to happen. I know her daughter was very much kind of against the movie. I don't know anything about the movie other than
The
it exists.
casting disturbed me a lot,
Yeah.
because there's so many issues around race and appearance and color within, in the black community, particularly with women, and that was a big issue for me. So I just kind of, that's all I know, and that's all I will say about it. But I do think that Nina Simone obviously always is going to deserve as much ink as can be written about her and as much conversation as can be talked about her, because she was a singular, American artist and a genius, and, was one of the ultimate interpreters of, I just found an aria, like an opera aria that she did,
Really?
in a jazz way. And it was just because I'm looking at doing that sort of thing, and I was like, she did it first. Of course she did, because she did all of that stuff. It was amazing.
This is probably a really unfortunate seg. I'm listening to Nina a lot lately with the whole thing. And of course, she has some of these great protest songs or politically based songs, and you think how unfortunate it is that it makes sense right now. When you listen to Mississippi Goddamn, and a handful of the others actually, and you're going, welp, I could play this at any time,
Yeah.
You yourself have come out with a song that's based on Charleston and everything else. When we look at the times that she wrote those, and we always talk about them in the history books of being so much about turmoil and the race clash and everything else, and I don't know, I look around, I go, things are supposed to change when you look at the history books like that, when they're like, and this happened, and then we did it, and then everybody was good, I don't feel that.
Well, the thing is, this is where somebody like me comes into the conversation, because, you go back to the civil rights era and you go, yeah, it's amazing how so many things haven't changed. But I'm like, hey, let's go back to the generation before that. Let's go back to the generation before that. And you see, the
Right.
through line of things not changing for hundreds of years. Now, granted, there's a lot of things that are much better.
Yeah.
My life today is a much better life than
Sure.
my life 100 years ago. I acknowledge that freely. But some of the things that continue to power there's these things on the surface that are happening, the shootings and all this kind of stuff, but underneath, that's what's not changing, is this sort of poisonous sort of boil that needs to be lanced. But the thing is that nobody wants to look at that boil. They just want to look at the stuff that's happening on the top and going, well, surely we can fix this by doing X, Y, Z. And it's as long as that boil is still there, the next generation is just going to poison it in a different way. So it's just without knowing the history and without really looking at the way this country was built, the way it was founded, the way where the economy came from, until we look at that with a really clear, and here's the important thing is, don't take it personally. I think people take this stuff personally, and it's this stuff happened so long ago, and you're reaping the benefits of it, and just be okay with it. Just be it doesn't make you a bad person.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you a terrible, demon. It's just acknowledgement of how the system is skewed, and why it's skewed is huge. And if I just want to get there, because if we don't get there, and it's the same in the black community. It's acknowledgement. For me, it's acknowledgement of how the system is skewed and how we have overcome so many times, and how, now so many people in the dominant, culture are starting to recognize. I mean, there's a lot of really good people in the world, and it's just matching up knowledge, and all of that goodness, and let's do something together.
I like that positive spin
know?
on it, because I see a bunch of people out supporting Trump and putting him in the lead of the polls on that side, and feeling we're in some much less literal bloody battle of a civil war that's happening in the country right now, and going, oh, can we get there? There's a lot of us that want to get there.
I'm telling you, it's coalitions, community, and that's why I talk about the positiveness of it, because we cannot get bogged down in the negativity. We cannot go, because then they win.
Yeah.
They're more organized in that way than we are, because their narrative is simpler. So we have a harder job, because we see the complexities, we see the difficulties, and it's not X, 1 + 1 = 2 for us. It's 1 squared plus 2y = 3z, But that's the reality of it. And so we have to figure out a way to get organized around that reality, and not let this sort of simple narrative that's false, but is easy to rally around. We can't let that defeat what we're trying to do. But in doing that, we have to recognize the goodness in each other and pull each other around, and form this group. you know, of you know, be like the Roman soldiers with the shields, you know. We have to all be together. If there's a hole, then that arrow is going to come through, you know.
I like to believe it. I really, really do.
Yeah.
I used to ask artists if they thought a song could change the world, and I would get all these mixed answers all the time. And I feel like the question I should have been asking was, how can a song change the world? Like again, you wrote a song for Charleston. I don't know if that was meant to try to change something or to just that you were so frustrated it caused you to put pen to paper, you know. But or maybe a song like We Rise, you know, is that written to say, yes, this can push it forward, and eventually down the line, you can change the world.
Well, it's like, you know, guns don't kill people, people kill people.
Yeah.
I feel the same way with songs. Songs don't change anything. They inspire people to change things.
Yeah.
Music is incredibly important. Art is incredibly important. It's like one of the most fundamental aspects of the human experience. And I think our job as artists is to take the emotion that's in here, you put it into a song, and then somebody else reacts to that emotionally. And you know, I think I've been inspired to do things by listening to music,
Right.
you know? So I think that is what we're here to do, is to inspire, you know? And I really feel like it's a responsibility now. Now, whatever you feel it's about, everybody doesn't have to say something about Charleston, but, you know, I think that is, I think it gets forgotten, you know? I mean, it's important to make a living, absolutely. I got my bills to pay like everybody else, but there is a higher service, you know, as an artist. I really feel that strongly. I really do. You know, it's service to the community, and it's service to the higher good, and it's service to the, you know, to the genius that's in everybody.
Yeah.
You know, it's making that connection.
It feels like, and again, maybe I say this unfortunately, it's a really ripe time to be a folk artist, especially when you're talking about protest songs or something like that.
Unless you're talking about exposure, in which case it's a terrible time to be a folk artist. You know what I mean? When you look at like the 60s, you know,
Right.
stuff was on radio, people were blah, 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 but now it's kind of like,
Well, we have public radio.
well, no, I mean, which is very important, but I'm
But
talking,
yeah,
you know,
it's not the
in
mainstream.
in terms
Yeah.
of being, you know, numbers being reached, you know, folk music has been relegated really
Yeah.
to the, you know, to the sort of the sidelines. And this is where social media comes in. But then you start thinking, you know, are we just preaching to the choir here? Are we just like, you know, are we just kind
Yeah.
of talking to each other a lot and going, oh, patting each other, oh, it's a nice protest song, you know, I agree with you 100%. Meanwhile, like the rabbles out here, like they're not getting any of it.
Yeah.
That's my concern.
I guess I see, you know, like,
I don't mean rabble. I just mean,
but like,
I
you
mean,
know,
you know.
you'd have an artist like Janelle Monáe, like
Yeah.
there's possibility there.
Yes.
Like she's starting to really get in this conversation.
She is.
She's taking that opportunity, and she's one of those voices who might be speaking to someone else. You know, a guy like Kendrick, I love his record, but maybe you're right on that one. Like, you know, who he's going to be talking to is probably already on his side.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you have the same issue with that. You know, who
well,
you're
of course,
talking
like
to.
who
is gonna be-
posted my video? NPR.
Yeah,
You know what I
right,
mean?
right.
Like we're all pretty firmly in the same camp. Like, you know, there's no ground being broken
Yeah.
there. That's
But it
how-
has to happen.
But it has to happen.
But it has to happen.
You have to keep doing it, and you have to keep figuring out ways. And that's why I think a coalition is the thing. You know, maybe 4 of us don't need to write 4 separate protest songs. Maybe 4 of us need to together and write one, and then, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I think there's different ways of doing it. We just have to keep trying. You have to keep trying.
With your life like this, with you an artist, with you an activist, and you're a mother, do you have to balance that? Do you know? I see pictures of you with your babies on the road with you and everything, and I think, you know, one part of me thinks she looked like she just incorporates it all together and she can pull this off. But there's another part that's like, do you have to say, I have to set this aside and I have to just concentrate on this? Like, does that ever?
If I was a guy, would you ask me that question?
Yeah, I would, and I really don't mean that
You know,
sexistly.
and I don't mean it in a challenging
If
way. I'm just
Dylan
curious.
was, you know, taking pictures of his kids on the bus and everything, and I'm not against that.
Yeah.
You know, and Dylan is obviously the first one that comes to mind because he's
Right.
the protest back then. Yeah, I would have asked that. Like,
Yeah.
you know, did he have to say, I can't be Bob Dylan
Right.
right now, I got to be Jacob's dad,
Right,
or
right.
something like that? You
Yeah,
know?
no, that's fair enough. Because I have, you know, it has been a big part of my public life is,
Yeah.
you know, my kids. And I did that kind of on purpose because, you know, women artists, it's been traditionally very difficult to do the family thing and the career thing, you know, as a musician. And there's so many examples of, you know, women either not having kids, being alienated from their kids because they were gone so much. And, you know, you read the biographies and it's sad, you know. But I think that, you know, I work and you know, and then I have my family. And it's like, I think the success of both is important to to know when to be mom, you know, and to say, you know, I'm putting my phone away and I'm not going to do this. And then to know, wait, you know what? I'm going to be with you in an hour because I'm writing this song right now.
You got to do it.
You know, you have to figure out, but it's no different to anybody else with a career.
Sure.
You know?
I mean, you know, Josh Rouse is in town tonight, and he, you know, he's going through the same thing. It's not protest; it is the job and everything. And I think that's what really interested me about you is that there is a third aspect. There seems to be a strong activist thing in there. It's like, and that's juggling not just, oh hey, I'm out here with a guitar and singer-songwriter, but you know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to save the world. And I don't know if you're trying to save the world. I want you to be trying to save the world. I'm projecting that.
Well,
so.
no, I mean, I feel like I have a unique vantage point.
Yeah.
You know, coming from the music that I come from, the research that I do, I mean, my library is like, it's very depressing. It's full of these books, you know, and I think that as a musician, and I'm very conscientious and I'm very specific, you know, and I'm very aware of where we are in the continuum, and I think that's a valuable viewpoint, and I think it's one that needs to be heard. You know, it's not about, like, again, it's not about me, it's about what I'm here to do. And the older that I get, you know, and the older I get, the more I want to say, because I'm just like, you know, I'm not worried about my career. I'm not worried about, you know, anything other than just, you know, when I, you know, at my last day and I know it's time to go, do I feel good about what I've had to offer, you know, and said things and not be scared to say what I think, but also I'm a musician, and I don't want to confuse. I'm not a public speaker. I'm not a politician. I'm not a teacher. I'm not a professor. I'm a musician. So I also have to juggle making it work through my music. If I have an artistic statement to make, I'll make it. I'm not going to be on Twitter talking about Trump, you know, because that's not my job. My job is to make music. Now, maybe I'll write a song about him. I don't know. Probably not. But
don't tell him if you did, because you know it's only going to inflate it.
I'm more interested in writing a song about Khalif Browder. You know, which I've done. I mean, that is what I'm more interested in is doing my part to provide voices in a way to either the voiceless or the ignored or the, you know, the people who haven't gotten enough attention, you know, in my own small way, trying to shine a light on these stories. That's what I'm here to do.
And I'm so happy you are. Rhiannon Giddens, thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to see you.
Thanks for the talk.
New record is out. Tomorrow's my turn. Cool.
All right.
That was great.
Oh.
And now I can go back on the air and finish the rock and roll show.
Cool.
Yeah.
Rock and roll.
I did step out from playing Fugazi and Sonic Youth into that bailiff like and had to go watch for him.
Interesting. I love those guys.
Me too.